we starting this off today?
I'm gonna let you.
Oh, of course you are.
I did it last time.
No.
Yes, I did.
Did you?
I tried, and you were like,
How did it go?
No, you're just you're
No,
literally manipulating me into doing
I'm just
it.
trying to remember how you did it, so maybe I can mimic it.
Okay.
I just want to know. I have not fine-tuned this welcome thing.
I just said welcome. I know. Actually, you were like, you don't seem excited enough. So no, I didn't do it because you tweaked it and you said it wasn't good enough.
Hey, welcome to our couch.
Our home. Come into our home.
Come into our home. Come into our conversation right now. Welcome to We Don't Have the Answers. The game show where we don't actually have any answers for you at all, but we're going to sit here and duke it out. Are you excited?
Is that what you're going with?
It's my game show voice. I'm excited to duke it out with you today.
I don't want to duke it out. I don't think I have the energy to do.
I don't think today's conversation is going to be a duke it out. I think today's conversation is more so going to be I think it's going to be just as much enlightening, but it's going to help you understand you and me understand you and vice versa.
Possibly, yeah. I think it has the potential to.
Yeah. For the records, we don't ever have these conversations beforehand. We discuss, we come to an idea of what
an agreement of what we're going to actually discuss, but we don't have the conversations before.
Right. So you're getting this like right out the gate. Whatever we say here, it's going to be fresh. Just to throw out the prerequisites here, we're not coaches. We're not therapists. We're none of the above. We don't take the place of any of those. We're none of the above. We're two people who realize through our own life the importance of conversations. We realized how easy it is to avoid certain conversations because they are so uncomfortable. And sometimes it's just easier. You hear this voice in your head sometimes. I don't know about you, but I hear it of like, yo, like, why don't poke the bear, just leave it alone, let it go, move on. Like it's not that big of a deal. And so in life, we avoid certain things that even though we say it's not that big of a deal and I'm not going to poke the bear, it lives, it takes up room, it rents a room in us and it lives there. And it likes to turn its music up every once in a while. And it likes to throw trash out front of its doors if somebody's going to come and pick it up, but nobody's coming to pick it up. It likes to just like bring down the neighborhood inside of you by and through your actions, through the things I say, through my tone, and just through how I show up for the people I love in a way that says, I love you, and this is how I love you right now because of who's renting an apartment in me right now, the resentment, the bitterness that is growing there through the way I have allowed this to just not matter, but it does.
Yeah, I think that could be one aspect. I think also sometimes it's a belief or a lie. What's the point of the conversation? They won't understand. It's particularly with this, particularly our conversation today. I think that is probably where I typically lean. Not so much that it doesn't matter, but when you talk among women and mothers, which I guess the conversation today would be how losing yourself in parenthood. The female and the male experience is very different in what that looks like and how that happens. I don't think either experience is greater. I don't think either experience is more like important or anything like that. But I think when you're in the experience and when you talk among women, it's just like they just don't care. They just don't understand. So I think that is probably the lie that I probably lean more to than it doesn't matter. I think it matters a great deal in my mind and in my world. I just think it feels like you wouldn't understand.
Yeah. And something just crossed my mind real quick, and I want to say this, that this is not a battle. This should not be a battle of the sexes of, well, we have it worse, or we have it greater. That I have noticed how sometimes in conversations and comments or whatever, that people love to say, well, what about us? What about us?
Yeah,
or
but I think
what about like why is it always about that?
Right. I think that stems from, though, a place of being forgotten and feeling forgotten. When you feel like you're not seen, I think you feel like you have to force others to see you. And so what I would hope here in this conversation that we do is that we will see both male and females in mothers and fathers, I guess I could say, in parenthood. So there doesn't have to be the what about this or what about that. I think people do that because they just don't feel seen. And so it's like, well, your comment or your conversation is only focusing on one perspective. Yeah. And in parenthood, I think in general, regardless of whether you're male or female, I think you feel unseen.
Right.
I think parenthood in its very nature can make you feel unseen.
And when the conversation seems to just be like hitting on one side, it's like, yo, but we didn't get in how we feel about that, or it just seems like there was so much from a perspective. Yeah, it just like here we go again, taking the back seat, not getting our voice heard. Yeah. And now here I am, okay, well, we'll take the scraps, and I guess it doesn't matter anyway. Yeah. Like as long as everybody else is happy, as long as everybody else is seen.
And let's be honest, that's a little bit what parenthood feels like at times, right? Like regardless of, like, it does feel like I have to put aside me to be a parent. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I think there is a healthy balance. I think I guess I could just dive in.
So here, let me just start off just in case people didn't catch it. The topic today, our topic that we're discussing is losing yourself as a parent, losing in
parenthood, not as parent, but in parenthood.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. In parenthood, losing yourself in parenthood. And just to kind of like, for those who are like, well, what does that even mean? Maybe let's start there. What would we be referring to when we say losing yourself in parenthood?
I'm probably going to speak more from a female perspective, a mother perspective. You'll speak more from a father perspective, which I think is important. I think that the back and forth is going to be important. I feel like God showed me this early on, in 2021, maybe 2020. It was 2022. So I think everyone's experience coming into motherhood is going to vary. There are some people who just get the blues. They call them the baby blues. There are some others who experience much more postpartum depression, anxiety, and there is a very significant population that experiences postpartum dysphoria. I think that's what it's called. I might be wrong on that, but it's a much more extreme version of postpartum depression. I think you have to know that the experiences people's experiences vary. All of that is a version of losing yourself. But I personally struggled with postpartum depression and anxiety. And I think I don't feel like I really kind of came out of that haze until about Harley was like 3 years old. So it was like that was a 3-year battle mentally. And anytime I feel like you are dealing with depression, anxiety, any type of mood disorder, you don't feel like yourself. You almost feel like you kind of feel dead. I don't know. That's the only way I know how to describe it. But I felt like in my walk, when I was kind of coming out of that, it was also when I was beginning my renewed walk with Christ. And I remember hearing about the flamingo. Have you ever heard this? Okay. No. So it's called Get Your Pink Back. And flamingos, I think it's male and female. So I don't want to just say male or female. I think it is both. I will double check that. When flamingos have their children for like the first part of their life, I can't remember if it's like up to a year or whatever, they lose all of their pink. So, flamingos are pink. Right. They turn white. And it's because they are giving all their nutrients, all of everything to the child to make sure the child lives. And so they turn white.
Okay.
And then when the child doesn't depend on them as much and doesn't need as much physically, they begin to get their pink back.
Okay.
And so I felt like God kind of showed me, like, and not actually through that example came later. For a mother, a little bit, you have to a degree, you do have to kind of lose yourself, or if you want to call it die. I don't know how you want to put it, but there has to be able to become selfless to the point where I will not get the sleep I need. I will not get the nutrients. I'm going to be giving nutrients away. I'm not going to get the time away I need for those, at least that first year, if I would argue longer. I think you do have to a degree, lose yourself to be able to become selfless for a child. Because as a mother, there is a degree, even physically, you give up your body for 9 months. Physically, if you breastfeed, you're like attached physically to a child. Like, you are the physical sustenance of that child.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there has to be a level. Now, do I feel like you should completely lose yourself? No. That's not what I'm saying. I think to a degree, there has to be a loss of self if you're going to move into selflessness for a child. And so I think when you're coming from being all about yourself, because that's what you are. Before having a child, you run your schedule, right? You run what you eat, when you sleep. Pretty much you are in charge of yourself and just yourself. You're not having to really determine anything else for anybody else.
Yeah.
And then to be able to move into a space where it's not all about me, there has to be a part of me that does die. That does not necessarily mean that it is a negative thing.
Right.
I think there's other layers that have created it to be a more negative experience, especially in our culture, like women having to go back, not having the proper maternity leave, and just things like, and like the way that we've moved away from having like a village and things like that. So I think that there are things that make this experience much more difficult, but I think it is an experience that you have to go through. And I would argue dads, maybe not physically they go through it the same way moms do, but dads have to also shift.
I can cover that. I'm processing through what you said, because I believe that in all that you said, there is a great deal of saying that, like, seeing how, yeah, I definitely believe that back then, I'm looking back and I'm thinking how, like, at that time I felt like as I stepped into fatherhood, and I've done that 3 times. I want to say it like 3 times because I have 3 kids, and each season was different.
Yeah.
Every episode for me was completely different. Every situation was completely different. I have experienced fatherhood with 3 completely different women. And I believe each time it was a different experience. So I can't say, well, like, I'll base what I experienced the first time with the second time. But there was I'll say, dying to what I wanted to say out loud and how I wanted to handle things, because I kept telling myself it's not really about me. And I believe the more I told myself it's not really about me, I lost a piece of me. Like, for me, I lost a piece of me. That's how I looked at it, in a way that I felt like I was like almost like pushing down like that stuff and just putting it away. Like, it's not even that serious. It doesn't really matter that much. I can let that go so that my children are comfortable, so that they feel seen, so that they feel loved, so that they are known in all those different areas that I felt like I was just like, well, that doesn't really matter. And I think over time, I think the stuff mattered, but as I grew, my perspective changed. So you say, well, dying, but it was almost like I was relearning myself and what mattered to me when I was a child. Would it matter as much to my kids in those stages of their life that I was just kind of like, I don't know if this will matter. I want them to feel this way and not that way. But what will I lose in keeping quiet, keeping the peace, trying to make it as comfortable for them so they don't feel the stress and the struggle that's going on around them with adults who are trying to figure out what this looks like next for us.
You know, I thought, I heard this and I don't remember who said it, so forgive me if I'm plagiarizing, but it was someone who said, remember, this is your parents' first time being parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there is like what you're saying is so real, because you're having to like learn a new space, but it's not just about you. And I think that's hard for humans who are naturally self-interest driven people. Like, well, that's what we are, right? Survival and all that, or like, you know, getting what we need and things like that. When you have to create this, when this shift occurs, and the difference between us and animals, I think for animals, it's a natural, like they don't have the thought processes to think through like, oh, you know, what does this mean for me? Like, I think it's just a natural shift. I think a natural shift has to happen in us as well. I think we just have brains and logic and thinking that go along with it. And I don't think it also necessarily always lines up. I think, and then when you also, from a mother's perspective, you also have hormones that don't necessarily line up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what you're saying is, I think probably the realist explanation of like, you do sometimes feel like you are pushing yourself and what your interest and your issues and things that are bothering you or whatever, how you feel like you're losing yourself for something, how we would term it, probably for something bigger.
I think when it comes to like losing yourself, it starts with realizing that, like, me saying this, me feeling this, me going there has nothing to do with the life that is before me right now, who's looking to me and doesn't care about none of this other stuff. And that's where, in a way, we begin to lose ourselves. But the question almost is like, am I losing myself, or am I growing and maturing myself and being refined? Right. And like who I am called to be in this new season with this new title that shouldn't define me, but it is a part of my life now. Yeah. Because I we'll get to this. I don't want to jump into it just yet, but like the importance of like how new roles and new titles begin to define us. But because they defined us so much, we lose like the question of like, well, who was I before I was a parent? Like imagine if our kids asked us like, what were you like before you were my parent? Man, I wish that kids would actually ask that question more.
But like, you have to think in their world. And I also heard this recently, like, there was a before you and there's an after you as a parent, but for a child, there was in their selfish self, which is again a very natural.
You call the kids selfish.
They are. They have to learn to not.
Selfish. I'm
just saying they have to learn to not be. I mean, you learn, but as a child, think about it. A newborn does not care if a mom is sick. They can't. They don't have the ability to.
I don't know. We have a 6-year-old.
No, I'm saying a newborn. I'm talking about newborn.
Yes, newborn doesn't even know. Doesn't even have a reference point.
Correct. So what my point is, I lost my point. Hold on. Oh, what? Like in their world, there was no before us.
Yeah.
The other thing I think, which was super helpful, when I went to therapy specifically for postpartum, I remember telling her, like, there were things that I quote unquote use as self-care pre-baby, and I would go and do them and they were not yielding self-care results. They were either causing more anxiety, they were causing more stress, or I was just like, this just seems pointless. It was just several different things. And she looked at me and she said, you're pouring into yourself, and your self-care will change over time. And when you become a mother, you are changing both biologically, physically, all the different things, right? Mentally, you're changing. And so your self-care may have to change. Yeah. And that was huge for me because I was really frustrated. I had grown super frustrated with, everybody's like, you got to take care of yourself. And I didn't feel taken care of, but I was doing all the things that previously took care of myself. And it was not yielding filling me up. It was not yielding pouring into me or making me feel refreshed. It was actually giving me more anxiety, which was something I struggled with a great deal postpartum. And so I think everyone, as your roles change, as your life changes, the way in which you care for yourself will probably change. And I don't think we like that. Because it's like, I don't know if we don't like that. I don't think we expect that, right? Yeah. I think when they list like, oh, these are ways you can self-care, and you're like, yeah, this always worked for me. I don't necessarily, it's like we don't like that. I just think it's surprising. It's like, oh, that actually doesn't fill me up the same way anymore. My priorities have changed. My thoughts have changed. Everything has changed about me. I think it's logical that the way I care for myself will probably change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to even add to that, because I know a lot of times it's like, well, my self-care, you're probably saying my self-care has changed, but your self-care, way you care for yourself, still looks the same. And referring to dad sometimes, because y'all can still go and do what you were doing before. You can still go.
That's a legit frustration with women.
Well, then, hey, look, I can hit the lotto every once in a while. I can be right about some things. Maybe I felt that frustration. So
I think I've even said that to you.
What?
I think I've said that to you before.
Maybe so, but I guess my thing is that in that what you witness, a lot of times there is such a change in normacy and change in so many areas of everybody's life in this picture. There is a struggle to try to hold on to some normalcy, something that makes you feel normal, makes you feel like yourself. And I'm sitting here and I don't know this. So once again, I want everything that I say that comes out my mouth to be a conversation, whether it be a continued conversation. I don't have anybody to quote. I'm just talking here. I believe that when I think about like even like the fact of like I'm a parent from the day we see on the little
pregnancy test.
Pregnancy test.
I didn't know what you were pointing. I don't know what you're
pregnancy.
Talking about.
The pregnancy test. The pregnancy test. I'm gonna listen. You heard what I said.
You said it right.
Okay. Look, I'm sitting here like I'm.
The more you said it, though, I think you were like, "Wait,
am I saying this right?" Yeah. It sounded crazy, but like, yeah, it's the pregnancy test. That's when we realize, okay, I'm stepping into a new role. I am now a parent. I'm a parent right now, and yes, I don't have to carry the child, but there is I have a position if I am given instructions. Now, a lot of times in and I'm speaking for myself, if you don't have any instructions or don't know what I am to do in all of this, then I become like on the outside. I'm on the outside not knowing what to do. Okay. Like, all right. So like, what's next? And it's like, well, I mean, a lot of it's all on you. So you got to carry, you got to take care of your body. You got to take vitamins and all this stuff. And what am I over here doing? I'm just over here just like, okay, so like, how do you need me? Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to go get you some ice cream and pickles again? You want me to go out and just like ride you around in the car? Like, you want me to go get that weird stuff that you've never eaten before? Like, we're just like kind of like, I don't know how I can help, but like just, and I think there can be some seasons where we recognize that I'm about to be a parent, but like I'm already like losing myself in this idea of like, well, what do I do? Well, what do I do? Like, and hear me out. Could be way off base on this. I think after parenthood, you're never not a parent, but after your kids aren't dependent on so much you, when they step off to college, when they step off to their own life, dads seem to like, how do they say it? Like what was the movie? I get my rhythm back a lot quicker than a mom may, if mom and dad are together. And I know that there's a lot of different situations where it's like, okay, a single dad raising a kid, that's different. A single mom raising a kid, that's different. I'm just talking about for us. Like, we're just talking from our thing. Yeah. But I want to call out those things that it could be different based on like who's sitting in it. I got you. But don't rush me. Don't rush me through this. Don't rush me through this. But like, I think that when it comes to like gathering who I was before I was a parent, who I was as a parent, there's some things that when you're not all in, to this role and what comes with it, and not sitting back and well, hey, look, she had the baby. Okay, how can I help? Oh, mom shows up. Hey, step back, get out the way. Okay, all right. Like it is very easy to stay this dad who goes to the ball court every Wednesday, who goes and works out every other day, who like, because everybody's like, hey, back up. I got this. And hey, look, by the way, can you pick up some diapers? Okay, cool. I'm a diaper gatherer in between. I'm a this, but sometimes our roles don't get as involved as yours, because we're waiting on direction from you, not from the book, not what everybody told me this would look like, but what you need from me. Because sometimes I can read the book and I can talk to my homeboys and they could be like, just go home every day and like prop her feet up on a pillow so that her feet aren't swelling anymore. And then you're like, cool, got it. I go home and I prop her feet up on the pillow and she looking at me like, what's wrong with you? What you doing? Why you put what you doing? Like, who? I thought I had to prop your feet up on. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, all right, I'm done. I'm coming off. Go ahead. Your
soapbox. You're gonna sit down.
I'm coming off my soapbox. Yes.
I would like to highlight one thing. I didn't think this was gonna be contentious. But you were on a soapbox for sure. I will say this. I can understand what you are saying. I do see what you're saying. And I think the experience of a father, from how you're explaining it, so I could be getting this wrong, is more of a logical or a thinking experience. A experience for a mother is more of a physical.
For sure.
And oftentimes you all, from what you're saying, I'm not, because I actually think my experience, you and I's experience was different. But
completely, for sure.
Well, I just mean like there was no mother that came in and told you to sit back. Like it was just me and you.
Yeah.
And so.
And that's the funny thing, because I have had this experience 3 times, 3 different experiences.
Right.
So yeah.
So I think oftentimes when a father is looking, especially if it's the first time, like if the mom's becoming a first time mom, I think there's things that you learn that first time that you're like, oh, that's what that is. Oh God. Like if I ever had to do it again, I think I always say I would do it wildly different, because I just, I would do it.
Do it again. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying if I would do it wildly different.
Yeah.
Just because of my first time experiencing it. I think if you're dealing with a first-time mom and you're saying, well, what do you need me to do? She doesn't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I can almost cry saying that, because it can feel like, oh, wait a minute. I'm supposed to not lose myself, care for the child. Oh, and let my husband know how to care for me. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. My entire body, I don't even feel like myself. I feel like this is not even me. And you are sitting here asking me, what can I do for you? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so go
ahead. Continue. I just realized that, like, man, we might have to just rename this episode. And it's less about losing yourself, but the journey of parenthood, like going into this, because I mean, and maybe we will get to what it looks like to lose, but like
I think that's where it starts, though. I think that's where it starts, is that you lose yourself in a way that you don't know how to find yourself, and then your partner's also losing themselves, especially if you're in we'll just say a healthier, because you don't necessarily have to be partnered, you could just be co-parenting.
Oh, and look, and losing yourself, not just losing myself, but losing my partner.
Right. There's a lot. But again, I think I kind of echo back to the beginning of, like, you do have to lose your partner a little bit. You do have to lose yourself in order to create space for a fully selfish being that fully depends on you too.
Well, she put it on y'all strong. Selfish being.
I think we use that word negatively.
Watch later, and they're gonna be like, oh.
They've probably heard me say it.
Selfish.
But we have a 17-year-old, and him and I've had to have that conversation. There is a switch when you are a child into when you are becoming an adult, where you have to realize, I tell our kids all the time, the world does not revolve around you. But they don't know that until you let them. And granted,
but that's because the world has revolved around them in this house. But it
has to when they're little, when they are everything. A child cannot fend for itself. So yes, I think there's arguments, I'm sure, of when this selfish period should end, but I would say probably at least 0 to 5, they are fully dependent on you.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
I mean, from 0 to 2, they can't even wipe their own butts. So, like, they are fully dependent on you. What are you doing?
The chat that we don't have, the imaginary chat, just said that 0 to 2, please. There's some grown people that don't know how to wipe their butt yet. I ain't saying, Joe, but that's what the chat said. But we're not gonna go there today. Stupid. That was petty right there. That was petty.
You're stupid.
I'm sorry. I was just reading the chat, the imaginary chat we got right now.
No, but I mean, I think honestly though, there has to be a part of losing. I think it would have been more helpful to understand. And I don't know if you can ever really understand this unless you've been through it. I think now I can look back and see I didn't lose myself to lose myself. I lost myself to gain so much more. And when we're talking about losing ourselves, I think a part of it for females, for mothers, is you have to get to know what your new body is. And I know for so many people, they're like, oh, that's so superficial. No, when you physically are like, wait, what just happened to my body? And it's not just immediately, it's for years to come. You're still trying to figure out what happened to my body.
So wait a minute, hold on. So if you're and I know this is different for everybody, but you're telling me, like, okay, because there's some people who are like, oh yeah, I snatched right back, like I'm
and they do.
Back in there. And but are you saying, regardless of how their external body looks, they are still learning the internal and all the areas of their body that may look the same but don't feel the same?
First of all, snatch back. You never snatch back to what you were before. Your body shifts no matter what. Boom. Your inside shift no matter what.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, women snap back, and I am not one of those women, but women snap back.
Okay.
Never snapped back.
You didn't snap back? You didn't snap back? What?
I didn't.
You look like you snapped back. You look like you snapped back, though.
All right, move on.
Okay, all right. But
I'm just saying, the idea of snapping back is not, and even women who snap back will say this, they didn't become, even if they've had to go a more surgical route, you never look like you did before.
Yeah, no.
Your body shifts, like the weight shifts. There's just so many different things. On a very superficial level, when I look in the mirror, I don't even look like me. Some women's faces swell. I did not have this. Some women's faces swell and like their feet swell. And I don't mean like, I mean like their feet do things and they never go back. I don't mean like, oh, they swell and then they go down. No. I mean, I've heard of people who have had to change shoe sizes after having kids.
You was about to go there. Yeah.
So I did not have that experience, but I do know that isn't it. So just from a very just surface level, I look in the mirror and I don't even see me.
Yeah.
That is a very, very odd experience. And for some can be devastating.
Okay, but I was sitting here thinking about this as you were talking though. I think there is still a desire for people to try to find themselves even while going through all of this, because we talk about like people snapping back and people
that's the
like
resilience.
They're trying to hold up.
That's women and motherhood and the resilience that I think actually motherhood builds in you.
But okay, hold on. You jumped ahead of me.
I didn't mean to.
I think there is something to like, if I can try to hold on to some normalcy and of who I was, who I've been, what people were used to, how they saw me before, then then they don't have to see how much is different internally, mentally, emotionally, that I can try to put on some normalcy for people so that they're like, oh yeah, this is still the same Robert. This is still the same Amber.
I don't think it's for other people. In my opinion, I don't really think it's for other people as much it is.
Oh, girlfriend.
Well, I'm not. First of all, no. Hear me out. Just hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. No, I don't think it's for other people. I have known women who have snapped back, and it has never been for other people. It has always been, I want to feel like myself. It's not about. I think this is where it gets like.
Okay.
Where we can get, I'm not saying there's no motivation to look good for other people. That's not what I'm saying. I think at its core, motherhood forces change upon you that you did not choose. Whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally, because we didn't even get to the part where you might have to reparent yourself as a parent, right? So when I'm saying this, motherhood, and I am assuming fatherhood, but definitely motherhood forces change upon you. You did not necessarily, like I didn't say, oh, check, I want my whole body to be rearranged. I know it can happen, but I want it to be just like this. I didn't say, check, I want to, for me, I had really bad postpartum anxiety. So I would literally envision like the worst case scenario. Like I wouldn't want to walk down the stairs during the day because you know what? I'm going to trip. I'm going to fall. I'm going to break my baby's neck. Yes, that's what I choose. That's what I like. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily choose this change. And so where in other seasons or even in other kind of scenarios, we'd be like, no, I'm changing for I'm choosing this change. Mm-hmm. Motherhood and fatherhood, I don't think allows you to choose what change you're checking. And I think that's where it's like, if I could snap back and just have some kind of normalcy.
So let's speak to fatherhood, because I hate hearing not hate hearing. It's just like there's and not to say that fathers don't begin to lose maybe their regular body or whatever. Like that's a thing. There are some fathers who's a joke that like, oh well, yeah, she puts on weight, he puts on weight. And that's a thing that can be something that's worthy of grieving, of like, man, I remember back when I used to look this way. I mean, that could be a thing for everybody. But the things that we're trying to hold on to sometimes can be different. And what mentally, what's going on in a father's mind as he begins to lose himself, I would even say sometimes for the better. Like there's a drive that comes with like, I've got another human being that I now have to support. Like it's not just I'm supporting one person. like I now have another person, and I can make jokes all day about how like, well, man, if your lady is expensive, if she's expensive, you have another girl on the way now. Imagine what she's going to be like. You're feeding 3 at that fancy restaurant. But like, regardless, there's these funny thoughts. There's these eye-opening and these awakening thoughts that say, I have a lot more mouths to feed now. Can I feed them with what I was doing that maybe I was passionate about? Maybe I have been a rapper. Maybe I have been like, hold on, just give me a second. I know you gave me that look like
it was just a weird choice.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I'm thinking of things that a lot of people find passionate. I play ball, whatever, things that may not be lucrative at the time, that I'm like, okay, can I do it with what I'm doing right now? Or do I need to step into a new phase of life where it's not so much I'm losing myself, but I'm learning different things that I can actually do that didn't look like the thing I was so passionate about, that I can maybe become passionate about, maybe I can become excited about. But it took this to push me into that. And that's, I hate when people say, well, I don't hate it, but it is, you don't have to always say, well, this isn't talked about enough. I think it is. It's thought about enough. Men talk about it. We sometimes we don't have to talk about it. It's like, hey, bro, when did you start doing that? Oh, like with the family and all that. I just had to, I needed to step up and do something different. And that's the way we talk about it. But I think that there's something to say about like how we process what's going on without somebody like sitting on our bladder, without somebody kicking us in the middle of the night, without us having to learn a new way to sleep. That not to say it does matter, but it changes us mentally. It changes who we are right in front of our spouse, our girlfriend, whatever, that sometimes it's hard to let go of, like what was for what's coming, what's new.
And can I ask a question with that?
Yeah. Because
I feel like from a female's perspective, it feels like that letting go, or I'm going to try and say this right. It can feel like that gets put on the female as well. Like, oh, she's changing to be something that I didn't choose, or her body does. And I know we can sit here and be like, oh, men don't think that. No, there are men who, if you're not, you don't look the way that they prefer you to look. And I don't, that makes it sound really, really selfish, but it was a part or an attribute. It was an attribute that they liked about you. Right. Or if it is, maybe it was, hey, I used to be, like I was saying, the self-care. I used to be really passionate about the gym, but for whatever reason, that's not a self-care, but that's something y'all did together, right?
And it's bigger than just like even how you look.
Sometimes no, I don't mean, like, I'm
wow,
saying, like,
you're
self-care,
always,
or like, go ahead.
But hear me out. It's like, wow, you used to feed me all the time, but now all you do is feed them. And here I am, just like, I would, like, so it's not just always a looks thing. It's an intention thing of like, I want the same attention you're giving them. Like I used to get all that attention. Right. And so now the little selfish being,
joke with a guy at work who just had a baby, and we're like, oh, you need attention, don't you?
Yeah. It's like the selfish being, this little selfish joker is taking all the attention, when at one time I felt seen, I felt loved, and I felt affirmed, and I felt a lot of things that I'm not feeling. And so I'm trying to like either stuff it down, but it keeps flooding over, and it's like, so how do I feel?
And can I say this?
And I know this can sound selfish.
No.
I recognize that a lot of the things we're talking about.
Well, all of it. But I think in becoming a parent,
everybody is trying to survive and get what they need from the people around.
But here's where I think is very interesting, because when you say I don't get the attention, if a new mother was to say, you know what, I'm not going to feed my child right now. Yes, the baby's screaming, but my husband needs attention. That would make her a bad mother. That would make her an inattentive mother to a child. That could possibly be, depending on how she does it, could be child abuse. And so mothers get, I feel like I have felt you get put in this position of, is it more important to be a good mother or to be a good partner? Because there doesn't seem to be a consensus in a partnership sometimes of, I know you can't be the partner you would want to be right now because you have to be a good mother.
Yeah.
And so it feels like we are in a position where we not only have lost ourselves, we're losing our partner, and we don't win. And so what ends up happening, where's the only win we find? In motherhood. And we throw ourselves into it. Well, if I can't be a good partner and I can't find myself, I can be a good mother. Instinctively, my body, I can. And so what we throw ourselves into the one thing, and this is where I think we start losing ourselves. Instead of being a good mother and recognizing and having conversations and getting, like, still exploring what self-help looks, still trying to, in patience, know we're going to get our pink back, we will throw ourselves into motherhood because that is the one place we can succeed. That is the one place no one can tell us we're not doing everything we're supposed to do.
Yo, that makes so much sense. Oh my goodness. And look, and as you were saying that, I was like, so where does that leave us throwing ourselves into? And that leaves us throwing ourselves back into our job and to people that are like seeing our worth at the time, that are attaboying us, that are like, yo, like, you're doing a great job. And it's like, and so we in a way, we lose not just ourselves, but we lose the importance of the role that we're supposed to play in the grand scheme of things. Holy crap.
And then that's where, you have women who are like, yeah, I'm a single mom married. Where I have heard there is a whole group of women that will tell you, that will say, no, there is a whole group of women that will say and have said, when I got divorced, it got easier to be a single mom. And I don't think they mean that their ex-husband was so over. It was that they could not be all to their partner and all to their child. And so when they became a single mom and they divorced, they were able to just finally, I can just
focus on one.
I can just be a mother and I can still find myself, and I don't have to this constant letdown of I'm not enough. And so I think you lose yourself when you just feel like I'm never enough. I'm not enough for you. I'm not enough for them. I'm not enough. If you're a working mom, that adds a whole nother component. And I was a working mom. That adds an entirely thick layer of like, and I say it, I mean, my job is very amazing. And I have a boss who is a single dad. He shares custody, but he even says, I mean, it's impossible to win at work and with your child. Sometimes you're winning at work and you're not 100% with your child. Sometimes you're winning with your child and you're not 100%. And that's literally, I feel like that's the best explanation of working motherhood too. Now, that's not to say that I have never been a stay-at-home mom, so I'm not able to speak as far as there's a whole dynamic that goes on there as well. But I think what it boils down to is I know I can be a good mother. And there is a group of, I don't know, I've met them. I feel like I don't know. It just is instinctively. Like, I know how to care for my child. I know how to care. I may not do it perfectly, but I know how to find the answers. I know how to advocate. I want to be there. And so if that's the place that I am not letting people down, why wouldn't I continue to go there? But what ends up happening as a byproduct is you completely lose yourself.
So basically to sum up everything we said so far, it seems like we all run to that space where we know we'll do good despite all that well, not even what it costs, but all that's on our plate. Like, it's like I can have 5 things on my plate, but if I'm really good at 2 of them, then sometimes I just let 3 of them go to like excel at 2 of them because I'm seeing, and we're not even gonna jump on appreciation, but just like I feel alive here because I know this, because I don't have to try to figure this out. I would rather go to the easy than the hard, because it is hard doing something that maybe you've never seen, maybe it doesn't go the way it seemed like it went for maybe your parents, if you had parents that raised you and showed you what it looks like. And this is so complex because everybody has a different situation that they grew up seeing, that and how they walked away from that they are bringing into parenthood, based on stories I've heard of, like, based on how my dad showed up, how my mom showed up. I am still fighting with that as a parent now, and how I show up, because I don't want to be anything like them, but because I've never unlearned or addressed it, I'm everything like them. And so I don't know.
That's a good point of what you said. I think that, and I said it earlier, and I never really thought about it until having this conversation. I think the perspective of it was our parents' first time being parents. For me, I think motherhood is more of a process of becoming versus like losing and finding yourself. Like, I think we can say find yourself, don't lose yourself in motherhood, but I think it's more of like a becoming. And so sometimes the start of a becoming, for me, my experience was having to kind of go back to my childhood, go back to what I saw motherhood as and how it was displayed. So I think in losing yourself, in my experience, it became finding a much, I don't want to say better version of myself, but a version I did not expect. I think that's a better way of putting it. I think I'll lose myself again in different seasons of it. I think it's not a one-time deal.
Right. But do you feel like those parts of yourself that you've lost are gone forever? And does that bother you, that there are parts of yourself? I even think about like parts of like how you may have done things, how you may have celebrated. I think about, the past New Year's, how we celebrate New Year's now, aside from how we celebrated it before. Do you feel like there are parts of you that may be gone forever, and does that bother you?
I think some parts, yes. I think other parts, no. So I think it can be both for me. Specifically, like physically, my body is just different. And I think that is hard sometimes, even 6 years later, to like figure out. It's just like, it just never seems like it's mine. That is a very weird mental place and it's not even about the weight, or it's just a different type, just a different body that I just was like, I don't know what to do with this. Then there are other parts of me that I realize I traded in something very superficial and surface level before motherhood for something now that I have is much deeper. Maybe whether that's the type of friendships I carry, whether that's the ways in which I choose to celebrate. There are certain aspects where I can see now how motherhood kind of pushed me into digging a little deeper. Right. Because I had to show up deeper for my kids. Like, I had to show up in ways that I could have never expected emotionally. And so I think in some aspects, I think I miss certain parts. And that's not to say they'll never come back, but I don't know if they ever will. And I am still working on grieving certain parts. And then there's other parts where I'm a little bit like good riddance. That probably was a part that should have gone before motherhood.
Right.
So I think it could be both. I think we say losing yourself, and it has such a negative connotation. And I think there are some negative aspects to it, but I think it's not always negative. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of like, it's more like a becoming, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about a question I had looked at where it asked, had I ever felt guilty for wanting something beyond my kids? And there are times where I feel like the way things have been set up, it's set up to where you do feel guilty for like, oh yeah, I would rather like just leave them behind and like do something or go and do something where they're not always a tag along, like as if like choosing kids means I choose them every day and I choose to put them before me every day. And even when it comes down to like, do I feel like some type of way about like the fact that do I feel like I've lost parts of me? I don't think it's as simple. I think that losing parts of me, some parts I feel like were growth and not necessarily losing, but feeling guilty about some days wanting to say, man, I'd rather just like, I want to go here and I don't want to figure out what the kids are doing or what they want or like every day it's about them. Like every day it's like, oh yeah, like what would they want? Like what if I want to not even be selfish, but just say like, I don't want to feel guilty for not including them on this plan. I was talking to a mentor and he was telling me how like for Christmas, he was like, man, I got a bucket list item to go away and go on a trip for Christmas. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Is that is that with the kids? He was like, no. He said, they're all grown. Hey, I'll see you after Christmas. I'll see you before Christmas. But like, and you could see that it was like, I don't feel bad about that. And that's, I listen to different people share how they feel like it should always be about what everybody in the circle wants. But there are some times where it's like, I continue to consider everybody, and in doing that, I don't consider myself. And how many times do I continue to in a way say I don't consider myself? It doesn't matter. I'm okay. Everybody else is happy. And slowly lose all the little dreams. They don't even have to be big dreams, the little dreams that are like, man, I would love to go do this. And as you said earlier, getting to the point where I'm saying, well, if I don't have to lead this family anymore, then maybe I can get back to doing some of those things and be a part-time dad to where the other part of my life is doing those things. And because nobody else, and I don't want to say this in a mean way, but nobody else cares the way I care, because nobody else even asked me what else I had. What are my dreams? What else do I want to do outside of just be a husband and dad? Nobody asked me. It doesn't matter. And that's the story we tell ourselves. I'm not saying it's real. I'm just saying that's the story we tell ourselves, that like it doesn't matter to anybody else. So it's not so much that I'm losing, but I'm I think it's more of, it doesn't matter. I don't have to lose it. It gets away from me. And eventually maybe, but nobody ever asked me like, hey dad, what would you do if you didn't have to take care of us, if you didn't have to wake up with all the responsibility, what would you go and do today?
You know what's funny? One of our kids has asked me that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they asked you, because I didn't.
One of them has.
I didn't get that. I never got that. And so, and this is not like a woe is me, like feel sorry for me. No. It's not that at all. It's just I think there's two sides to everything. And even in what I'm saying, it doesn't make what you feel and what you've lost and what you feel like you lose less important. It doesn't, and vice versa. But the story sometimes I hear, even in having this conversation right now, it's like, well, how can I fix that? Because like it's like he has his life still, so not concerned. He still has his job or whatever. It's like less of a concern. It's like, how do I fix that for me?
You're going to say I'm turning preachy.
No. Go ahead. You can be preachy.
I do think this is why anyone you ask that, biblically speaking, that is why your marriage comes first. And hear me out when I say this. Marriage is very similar to children in the sense of like you die to yourself, right? Like you and I've talked about this a lot. Like I am supposed to put my husband before my own needs a lot of times.
Yeah.
In the same way, my husband is supposed to put me. And so what ends up happening is, yes, you are being selfless, but you are being selfless with someone who's caring for you. When that trickles down, when you replace your kids with your husband, you are being selfless with people who are not instructed to be selfless with you. So when you put your kids above your marriage, a mother or a father, right? You're being selfless for kids who oftentimes, as they should, will grow up and will leave you because that's what we are training them to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think when the church instructs us, or when even secular, a lot of secular marriage counselors and advice would say the same thing, keeping your marriage healthy and then parenting from there is where this idea of like who cares for me, because kids are not it's actually called enmeshment when you are looking for your kids to care for you, when you are looking for your kids to give you validation, when you are looking for your kids to give you love. Yes, you want your kids to love you, but they are never it's not supposed to be the way a marriage is. And so sometimes I wonder if our losing ourselves is less about we're so selfless and we should be more selfish. I think it's actually more about we've misprioritized. And so we've put kids and motherhood and fatherhood in a place where it cannot care for us. Like,
and what I think, and I agree with what you're saying. And so the pendulum swings to the heavy side of like, screw everybody.
Correct.
Forget everybody.
Let's be part-time.
Like, you know what? I'll take this part-time. I'd rather be a single parent. Because I feel like I have my best interests. Yeah. These little jokers don't have it.
They definitely don't. And
it's starting to feel like this big joker don't have it. So you know what? Like it's almost like everybody's surviving by taking care of and being concerned with themselves. And so what point does anybody, and this is the crazy part, it sometimes feels like your friends will step in and be like, well, that's just why you need to get away. And it's like, yo, how is it that you know that, but don't none of these other jokers know that? Or like, hey man, maybe you just need to like go and do, and it's like, yo, like, bro, why is it that you see that, but nobody else sees that too? And I think that is because everybody is like,
they're all stuck in their own.
Yes. Yeah. Stuck in this own survival. Like, I'm surviving. Like, get out of my way. Like, hey, this is hard for me too. And it's just like, and so I think that like with this whole losing yourself and or not losing yourself and feeling guilty for sometimes having these ideas and these thoughts of like, man, like I don't like this. I don't condone this term that so I'm not even gonna say it, but I'm gonna adjust it. I think you know what I'm talking about. No. Yeah, forget them kids.
Oh,
forget them kids. But there is a sense of like the kids have taken up so much room in what we're doing that it's almost like they, in a way, not really, have said, forget their relationship, forget their parent, forget their marriage.
But I honestly,
forget their marriage.
I disagree that has nothing, the kids have nothing to do with that. Like, hear me out when I say that. The kids have not set that tone. You have set that tone, and your children are basically acting according to the tone you set. Because if they don't know the tone of forget their marriage, then they wouldn't, that's not where they would go. If they knew the tone of our marriage comes, I mean, Harley actually has asked me, do you love me more than daddy? And I'm like, I can't, I don't.
Oh my goodness. Listen to me. Man, listen to me. Well, don't get me started with Harley. Well, Harley be like, I mean, Dad, you go sleep in my bed if you want to. Go sleep in your bed. Did you just kick my wife? Don't kick me out of my own bed. Like, I know you did. Just like that. And you know what? Let me not make it seem like, oh, it's just a Harley thing and they want to just see. No. Justin, there was a time where Justin, because I had him part time, we had our time.
Yeah.
Same with Maddie, same schedule. We had our time. Harley, 24/7. Why are you still here? Like,
she's in the house. She can hear you.
Why are you still here?
Don't say
you're that. Right. Okay,
that
you're
is
right.
not
you're
appropriate.
Right. That's gonna hurt her feelings, even if it is true. But
no, I don't. But I don't think that. I don't think that's true. I will say, you said something, and I don't remember now. But I think that it comes, like, you have to set that tone. I think there is a deeper issue oftentimes when we are losing ourselves and we find ourselves in other things that give us like a quick fulfillment. And here's what I mean by that. As becoming a new mother, you do lose yourself. You lose your independence. You do, because you now have someone that is fully 100% dependent on you. You lose maybe, you lose parts of yourself, of what you like used to enjoy. You may have some mental issues that come like along with it for a time period. So there is a lot of loss. And I think when we're trying to get a win, and we get our win in motherhood, and then we hang on to that. And so I think for me, it was realizing like nothing was more disappointing, honestly, was when I had my fail in motherhood. Like when it was like, then I really, because I lost myself, my part, you and I at the time were not in a good place. And I think we were on our way to separation, if not already separated. And I felt like I was failing in motherhood. And it was like, literally, there's no place I'm winning. And so I think that's the danger in putting our whole identity. And I say this from a daughter whose mother put her entire, I felt like put her entire identity into us. And so when she got sick and she could see all of our lives moving on, I think there was a part of her that felt like, what, my purpose is done. And I'm not necessarily saying that like she gave up. There's no blame in there. I'm just saying there was conversations that her and I had towards the end where she was like, but you're getting ready to move out. April has kids and is married. Ashley has kids. Like, everyone was moving on with their lives. And where did that leave her? Mm-hmm. As a single mother who was always, it was Janet and her girls. Mm-hmm. And so having to, when you talked about earlier, like the relationship that you had with your parents and what that looked like, I had to really like sit when I felt like I lost myself, and our marriage, at the time I felt I had lost that. And then it felt like I was also losing in motherhood. It was like, wait a minute, where have I gone wrong? I don't want to end up to the point where I look around when my kids get 18 and be like, what's left in my life? And so.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think when you kind of assess losing yourself in motherhood, I think for me, it was finding myself in God. But I think you have to find yourself outside of motherhood. I don't think you can find yourself inside of motherhood. Otherwise, there's an expiration date on that.
For sure. No, listen. Okay, so since you brought it home there, yes, 100%. And this is not just. I want to say this is not even just for motherhood. This is in all aspects of motherhood, fatherhood, your career, your marriage, big time job, whatever. Marriage.
Because there's
100%. And I think that there should. And it was funny as you were saying all that. I was like, it all goes back to identity. It's like, what is your identity rooted in? Who do you see yourself as? And that only, maybe, or this is the greatest esteem of me. I get the most joy out of this, so I want to be this forever. But there is no forever in most of the things that we choose to hang on to. Which is why, you know, in a lot of my posts, you see, I say I'm a son. No matter what happens in my life, no matter what's taken away, what's given, I am always a son. And I'm not necessarily talking about to my father and my mother. I'm talking about to my heavenly Father. Like, he is always there as a father to a son, even in the darkest moments where nobody else is calling, nobody else is there, and I'm still a son. And I think to hang on to a lot of the titles that we lose, that we begin to see adjust and change in life, it goes back to like, I have a father who doesn't always give me all the answers, but he guides me, and I know that his steps, my steps, are ordered.
Yeah.
And as it says, you know, the light that he shines is for on the next step. And so if I'm willing to take the next step, even if it's in areas where I've lost it all, and I don't have a title that's still tied to me, I don't know what they'll call me next, to identify with, that I can hold on to, that was so good to me in the last season. I can know that, like, all right, it's less about titles, but it's about knowing whose I am and who I am in him. Outside of everything I've lost. I've lost myself. I don't know who I am anymore. I am a father who's constantly trying to get this right, but fatherhood maybe doesn't seem as appreciated. And as I said recently, nobody's writing these Dear Father songs for me, telling me how great I am. And Father's Day hasn't gone up on the countdown list. But yet, if that's all I have to hold on to, then you know what? It can start to feel defeating. It can start to feel fleeting. It can start to feel unimportant. And I will go where I feel important, where I feel celebrated, where I feel like I can conquer something and people are cheering me on. Because at the end of the day, Tim Ross said this. He was like, people go where they're celebrated, where they can feel like a little kid, like the little boy, like the little girl again, where people are like, man, you did that for us. You did that for me, man. Thank you so much. I love you so much. You matter so much to me. I just want you to know you killed it today. You did that. Well, I do it every day, and cool. And I just want you to know you did that today. And the truth of the matter is no matter who's not doing that, I know that I can find that in my Heavenly Father when I do things that it's like it was silent afterwards. But I know that if I did it according to where he pointed me, where he called me, where he's taking me, then he's proud of me. Yeah. And I know that sometimes seems like, oh, but well, it's like,
I don't.
Go ahead.
I think that's what I'm about to say is about to be funny and ironic, not for the cameras, but just for me and you. I know we say we don't have the answers, but I think the answer is there is hope, even in the losing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to, what we're not saying is accept toxic situations where you're underappreciated and undervalued and things like that. That's not what we're saying. I think when you put your hope in something that is not eternal, it will run out. And so in losing, you will lose yourself in motherhood. I think you will lose yourself in careers. I think we are, like you say, when we get our identities, the applause does stop, unfortunately, even in careers. The applause does stop in times of marriages. The applause does stop in motherhood at times. I don't think it should be forever. Like, I don't think you should just accept a career that doesn't ever appreciate you. I don't think you should, I think you should be working for a marriage that has mutual appreciation and care. I think you should be teaching your kids how to appreciate the people that love on them well. Like, I think all that stuff, I don't think it should be forever, but I think there will be seasons. And I think where we fall back on, who we fall back on, matters just as much as what we're losing.
Yeah. As you were talking, okay, so I thought about something, and I've fallen on this before, and I'm glad I found this. I don't know who told me this a long time ago, but they were like, work as though you're doing everything for the Lord.
Yeah.
If he's your Lord, if he's your Lord and Savior, do it all as though, because when the applause stops by people, when it stops by those around you, by those closest to you, you may decide that I don't want to do this anymore. There have been, oh my goodness, there have been so many seasons where, especially at work, where I'm like, the applause has stopped here. Yeah. I feel unappreciated, but I want to continue to work with an excellence as though I'm doing it for you. And I believe even in this season that applause, that knowing that God is proud of what I've done and how I've done it, even in spite of like how I felt, it comes with returns that don't always look like what you expect them to look, but it comes with like a promotion of like, okay, if you stewarded that well in that season that way, then I'm going to promote you in other ways where it shows forth, not from a prosperity gospel, but like I'm promoting
like wisdom
you from right, yeah. for sure. And so I sit there with that, knowing that like, okay, all right, like this, like my kids, I may not feel appreciated at home, but if God gave me this family and these kids to steward, then he's proud of everything I'm doing and everything I'm pouring into them. And every time I show up and every time I fight the thoughts that say, forget this, you don't have to, I'm doing it for him. If he's my Lord and Savior, if that's who I'm looking to for that approval, knowing that even in the prayers of God, I wish that they would see what you see. Doesn't mean that he's not answering those by beginning to transform the hearts of those around you to see what he sees.
And even transforming you, because kind of like the losing yourself. Sometimes you can say, hey, God, I'm showing up and I'm doing this. And this is a personal prayer. I feel like, I'm showing up, I'm doing this, but it doesn't feel like me. It's not something I want to do. I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I'm enjoying this. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that from a very superficial level. I mean from the way that you look at moms on Facebook and take TikTok and Instagram, and it's like they were just born to be a mom. And you're like, I thought I was, but like I don't feel like that. And I know that's funny. You're laughing.
No, it's real. It's real.
But there is I mean, it's such, or even like, because I'm a working mom, there's a lot of guilt there of like, maybe I'm supposed to be a homemaker mom. Like and you and I have had that conversation. Like, I don't know. And realizing that I can have all of those feelings, and I feel guilty about some of them. Please understand. Like, I feel guilty that sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go home and cook for my family. Like, Forget
that family. Forget that. If I don't show up, they'll figure it out. They'll
or
eat
even
something. They'll eat crackers. They'll go in the refrigerator. They'll figure it out. If I show up late.
And I think that, there's, or even sometimes I can feel resentful and bitter. Like, I lost more of myself than you, I feel like, at times. There's been times in my motherhood journey.
I knew it. I felt it. I knew it. This joker is out there living life, and I'm over here wrapped up. This sucks.
There was
you about to go where?
That there
about to go out with the boys?
Yes.
Oh, you know who else wants to go out with the boys? I want to go out with the boys. I want to go out with the girls. I just want to go out, period. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Thank you. I don't. Do you feel better?
I do. I knew it. I felt it.
I'm totally.
I found it. I'm totally. And the laughing lets me know. See, there's a truth.
No, there's definitely truth. I just have completely derailed, and I don't even remember where I was going.
Okay, go ahead.
I think my point is that, and I struggle with this. It's not black and white. It's not. I never lost myself in motherhood. I'm not losing myself in motherhood, and I'm so blissfully happy. I don't hate motherhood, and I don't wish I didn't do it. And I do agree when people say like this is one of the greatest things I've probably ever done. On here, like this is a huge, sure. It's a huge thing, right? Like there is so much joy. There is so much, like there is nothing more like heartbursting when your child does something and you're like, wow, I did something right. Yeah. Right. So I think where, yes, I've lost parts of me and I will continue to lose parts of me in motherhood. Yes, I feel like this is one of the greatest ventures I've ever embarked upon that God's blessed me with. And I feel like I'm right in the middle constantly. Like I feel like there's always this gray of like, I'm trying to find myself in this beautiful, messy season all at the same time.
Wait, so you're in the gray?
Shut up.
First of all, what y'all don't know about Amber is black and white. There is no gray. So, like the fact that she's sitting here.
No, that's not true. I am not black and white. I have. Yes, I work to remember and have a perspective of the gray because yes, I see things in black and white. I do.
Okay, I believe you.
But I do feel like motherhood is a lot of gray. It is a lot of gray, and
100%.
And so when people say like, "Do you feel guilty?" Yes. Do I feel guilty when I say, man, if I would have never done this, I could maybe be on the beach at whatever weekend I want to be, right? Like, I don't know. And that seems very superficial, but I just mean like there's freedom. There's freedom that you get, that you basically turn in when you become a mother.
Yes. And I even said it to you recently. We said this like live action. I was like, oh no, I've made my schedule very relaxed because the gray sometimes looks like I'm about to go to a meeting or I'm in a meeting and
Dad,
my daughter calls, hey, I missed the bus. I don't know how to get home. Okay. Gray areas, like make room for those.
Right.
If you think that
daughter's throwing up at school, gotta go to get them.
Make room for those.
Yeah. Like whatever it may be.
Like parenthood is it's lived in the gray.
Yeah.
Sometimes the black and white and how you saw it is not how it's lived in the gray. I live it in the gray. So yeah. So before we get out of here today, I wanna, I think we've given you a lot to even have your own conversations about. But I like to leave some reflection questions with people to write down. You can pause and write it down. Just things to think about yourself. I think reflection, even after listening to something like this, it can sometimes you'd be like, oh, that was good, that was funny, or whatever. Move on. But I think when you leave with something to reflect on, it gives you it brings you into the conversation, not just to say y'all are stupid and like y'all don't know what y'all talk about and it don't feel that way. No, I mean, if you feel that way, feel free to leave that at the bottom too, or in the comments. But like they can.
Robert will read it.
Yeah, I'll read it for sure, and I'll pray for you. But here's some reflection questions that I want to.
Can I just say this?
Yes, go ahead.
I think it's easy to listen to other people's stories and you identify with parts or you don't identify with other parts. I think when you're reflecting, it just allows you to see yourself. Like that's what a reflection is.
Yep.
And like when you're reflecting in a mirror, and I think sometimes it may lead to grief. It may lead to sadness. It may lead to hopelessness. I hope it doesn't lead to hopelessness, but I feel like it can lead you into some emotions that maybe, hey, I've been trying to avoid those. I think there is hope in the reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it will enlighten you to maybe places that you've been placing, identities you've been placing your worth or yourself in, and maybe if nothing else, the reflection.
There's learning. There's even learning in reflection. There's learning. There's opportunities to go home, as I like to call it, back to the little boy or little girl in you. Yeah. There's so much in reflection if you'll sit with it and feel your way through it.
Yeah.
Even if the first feeling is tears. Then cry your way through it.
Yeah.
Like, so no. I'm
Sorry. I just,
no, you're good. That was good. That was good. So my first question is, who are you before you became a parent that still deserves room in your life now?
We're not answering.
We're not going to answer that. I know you wanted to go there.
No. We're way over time. So no.
Okay. Second one. If your kids could describe you in 10 years, what part of you would you hope they remember besides what you did for them?
Oof.
That one's good. We could do a whole episode on that one. Okay. And the last one for you. What did you believe parenting would cost you? And what has it actually cost you?
I also...
Bring your receipts. Get the receipts.
I would also say, as like a B to that, what have you gained? Because I think
that's good.
Oftentimes we can definitely look at the cost when we're talking about losing, and we just completely forget about the gain. And I think it's important to see both, because you might be surprised at what you've lost.
First, what all it's
not even just like number wise, but value wise. Like it's like, oh, I was okay to lose that, but I could have never gained this any other way. So I would say as a B, write down the cost. But also write down the gains.
That's good. Well, we've given you plenty of homework. I mean, if you choose to take the journey, I think all of the hey, it's a journey. Let me tell you, it's a journey. But no, this was cool. It
apparently validated some already held beliefs for you.
You know what? And they will never see all the behind the scenes, but this episode took us through some moments where we kind of had to pause and be like, and yes, also there were opportunities where like I got that out. Like I said that, I felt seen when you said that, like I knew it. And not that it's like, see, it's more like, okay, you weren't tripping. And as people listen, they may feel seen. They may be like, see, I knew I wasn't tripping. But I don't think it's all about like always feeling seen, but it's also allowing yourself to see others in a different lens, from a different perspective for others, as you listen for the others that are in your life. And so, I ain't got nothing else.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
See you next time.
We done. See y'all soon. All right now.